Once hailed as the Main Street of America, Route 66 was more than just a highway. It was a lifeline. Stretching from Chicago to Santa Monica, this legendary road connected the heartland to the Pacific, carrying millions of dreamers, workers, and wanderers across nearly 2,500 miles of asphalt. It wasn't just about getting somewhere, it was about the journey itself, through dusty deserts, neon-lit diners, and the endless promise of the open road. But when the interstate system took over in the late 20th century, many of the small towns that once thrived along Route 66 were left behind. Gas stations dried up, motels went dark, and the laughter that once echoed from roadside cafes faded into silence. These forgotten towns became time capsules, frozen in mid-century America, their faded billboards, rusted cars, and ghostly main streets telling stories of hope, loss, and resilience. Today, Route 66 still holds a special place in the American imagination. Travelers from around the world venture off the beaten path to rediscover its forgotten corners, places where you can still find a jukebox humming, a vintage sign flickering, and locals eager to share tales from the road's golden era. These towns may no longer bustle with traffic, but they pulse with history and nostalgia. In this documentary, we journey through the forgotten towns of Route 66, exploring what remains, what has vanished, and what refuses to die. From abandoned motels swallowed by desert sands to diners kept alive by sheer passion, each stop is a reminder that even when progress moves on, the spirit of the road endures. Route 66 may have faded from the map, but its soul still burns bright in the people and places left behind. In the early 20th century, America was on the move. Automobiles were no longer luxuries for the wealthy, they were becoming a part of everyday life. But while cities were buzzing with new cars, most of the country was still connected by rough dirt roads and disconnected local routes. There was no single highway that linked the east to the west, no unified road that could take a traveler across the heart of America. That changed in 1926 with the birth of Route 66, a highway that would soon become the most iconic road in the world. Stretching over 2,400 miles from Chicago, Illinois to Santa Monica, California, Route 66 was envisioned as a main street of America. It passed through 8 states and countless small towns, connecting farmers, families, and businesses in a way that had never been done before. For the first time, people could drive from the Great Lakes to the Pacific Ocean without navigating a confusing maze of unmarked backroads. The creation of Route 66 was championed by 2 visionary men, Cyrus Avery from Oklahoma and John Woodruff from Missouri. They saw the potential of a single continuous road to fuel economic growth, boost tourism, and connect isolated communities. When the road officially opened on November 11, 1926, it symbolized progress, unity, and opportunity. More than just a stretch of pavement, Route 66 represented the American spirit of exploration. It invited people to chase new dreams, explore the unknown, and build a life beyond the horizon. Soon, roadside diners, gas stations, and motels began sprouting up along its path, giving rise to a new roadside culture. The birth of Route 66 didn't just connect places, it connected people, shaping America's identity 1 mile at a time. During the 1930s, Route 66 became far more than a road, it became a lifeline. As the Great Depression gripped the nation and the Dust Bowl turned vast stretches of farmland into barren wastelands, millions of Americans were forced to leave everything behind in search of survival. Entire families from states like Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Arkansas packed their lives into old trucks and cars, heading west toward California, following the promise of fertile land and new beginnings. For them, Route 66 was not just a highway, it was hope paved in asphalt. The journey was harsh and uncertain. Along the 2,400-mile stretch, travelers faced heat, hunger, and exhaustion. Many slept in their vehicles or roadside camps, praying that their cars, often overloaded and breaking down, would make it another few miles. Yet, despite the hardships, the westward migration along Route 66 became one of the most defining human movements in American history. John Steinbeck immortalized this exodus in his classic novel The Grapes of Wrath, famously dubbing Route 66 the Mother Road. His words captured the desperation and resilience of thousands seeking a second chance. For these families, California symbolized the end of suffering, a place where hard work could rebuild shattered lives. As migrants traveled west, small towns along the highway grew into bustling rest stops, offering food, fuel, and a sense of community. Route 66 carried not just people but their dreams. Dreams of freedom, dignity, and opportunity. By the time the Depression ended, Route 66 had become woven into America's cultural fabric. It wasn't simply a highway, it was a symbol of movement, perseverance, and the enduring belief that no matter how hard life gets, there's always a road leading somewhere better. Boom times for small-town America. As the Great Depression faded and America entered the post-war era, Route 66 experienced its golden age. From the late 1940s through the 1960s, the highway pulsed with life. Returning soldiers, young families, and curious travelers took to the open road, embracing the newfound freedom of the automobile. For small-town America, this was a boom unlike any before, a time when every car that rolled down Route 66 brought opportunity, prosperity, and connection. Mom-and-pop businesses flourished along the route. Gas stations with hand-painted signs promised full service with a smile, while roadside diners served homemade pie and hot coffee to weary travelers. Motels popped up overnight, each one trying to outshine the next with neon lights, themed architecture, and family-friendly prices. Entrepreneurs found creative ways to catch the attention of passing motorists, from giant fiberglass statues to quirky roadside attractions like the Blue Whale of Catoosa and the Cadillac Ranch in Texas. For many small towns, Route 66 was their lifeblood. It connected them to the rest of the country, turning once quiet farming communities into bustling hubs of activity. Local economies thrived, schools grew, and families found stability through the steady stream of travelers passing through their doors. The highway became a living artery of commerce and culture, uniting people from all walks of life, farmers, soldiers, truckers, and tourists alike. Beyond the economic boom, Route 66 fostered a sense of Americana that defined a generation. It represented optimism, progress, and the simple joy of discovery. For countless families, a trip down Route 66 wasn't just a journey, it was a rite of passage. These were the glory days, when the hum of engines, the glow of neon, and the laughter from roadside cafes embodied the spirit of a thriving mobile America. The arrival of the interstate system. By the mid-1950s, America was changing fast. The booming post-war economy had filled driveways with cars, and millions of families were hitting the road more than ever before. But while Route 66 and other early highways had served the nation well, they were becoming congested, dangerous, and outdated. The country needed faster, safer, and more efficient roads, and in 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act, giving birth to the modern interstate system. It was a decision that would forever alter the landscape of America and spell the beginning of the end for Route 66's golden era. The new interstates were designed for speed and directness. Unlike Route 66, which wound its way through countless small towns, these highways bypassed them entirely. What had once been a steady flow of travelers stopping for gas, food, and rest suddenly became a rush of cars speeding past at 70 miles an hour. Businesses that had thrived on roadside traffic, motels, diners, and gas stations, saw their customers vanish almost overnight. For the towns that depended on Route 66, the impact was devastating. Main streets grew quiet, neon signs dimmed, and once busy establishments fell into decline. By the 1970s, many sections of Route 66 had been replaced or decommissioned, and in 1985, it was officially removed from the U.S. highway system. Yet, even as progress moved on, something irreplaceable was lost. The interstate system may have made travel faster, but it stripped away the charm, character, and human connection that defined the Route 66 experience. The arrival of the interstates transformed America's mobility, but it also left behind a trail of forgotten towns, each one a ghostly reminder of the days when the journey mattered as much as the destination. Ghost towns and abandoned dreams. When the interstate highways replaced Route 66, they didn't just reroute traffic, they rerouted life itself. The once bustling towns that had thrived along America's most famous road suddenly found themselves cut off from the flow of travelers that sustained them. Gas stations that once glowed with neon lights went dark. Motels stood empty, their vacancy signs flickering in the wind. Diners that had served generations of families closed their doors, leaving behind only faded menus and dusty stools. Slowly, the heartbeat of these small communities faded, and Route 66 became lined with ghost towns and abandoned dreams. Driving along the old highway today feels like stepping into a time capsule. In places like Glen Rio, Texas, or Amboy, California, you can still see the remnants of a bygone era: rusted cars, crumbling billboards, and empty storefronts frozen in time. These places whisper stories of families who once thrived here, of travelers who filled the air with laughter and music, of lives built around the promise of the open road. Each ghost town tells a different story, yet they share the same fate: victims of progress. For many residents, leaving wasn't a choice, but a necessity. As businesses failed and opportunities vanished, people packed up and moved on, leaving their dreams behind in the dust. And yet, there's a haunting beauty in these forgotten places. The silence carries echoes of the past, and the peeling paint and cracked glass tell stories words cannot. Route 66's ghost towns stand as monuments to impermanence, reminders that even the brightest eras can fade. But in their stillness, they also preserve a piece of America's soul, a testament to ambition, resilience, and the eternal longing for the road less traveled. While many towns along Route 66 have faded into silence, others have refused to disappear, kept alive by the passion and dedication of local heroes. These are the preservationists, shop owners, historians, and everyday residents who see more than decay when they look at an old diner or rusted sign. They see history worth saving, memories worth sharing, and a legacy worth fighting for. All along the Mother Road, you'll find individuals working tirelessly to restore what time has tried to erase. In Seligman, Arizona, barber and civic leader Angel Delgadillo became known as the guardian angel of Route 66. When the highway was bypassed in the 1970s, Angel refused to let his town die. He rallied locals, founded preservation groups, and helped spark the revival of Route 66 as a historic and cultural landmark. His efforts inspired countless others to do the same. In small towns from Illinois to California, Family-run businesses have reopened their doors, breathing life back into forgotten streets. Old motels are being restored to their retro glory, diners are serving coffee again, and museums are curating artifacts from Route 66's heyday. Volunteers paint over rust, repair neon signs, and share stories with travelers eager to experience the road's golden past. These local heroes are not just preserving buildings, they're preserving a spirit. Through their work, they remind the world that Route 66 isn't just asphalt and signage, it's a living piece of Americana. Their passion bridges generations, connecting the nostalgia of the past with the curiosity of the present. Thanks to their dedication, Route 66 continues to inspire dreamers and wanderers alike, proving that while time may move on, the heart of the Mother Road will never stop beating. Few roads in the world have left as deep a mark on culture as Route 66. More than just a highway, it became a symbol of freedom, adventure, and the promise of the American dream. Since its opening in 1926, the Mother Road has captured the imagination of artists, musicians, filmmakers, and travelers from every corner of the globe. Its image, dusty highways, neon motels, classic cars, and open skies, has come to represent the very essence of the American spirit. In music, Route 66 found immortality through Bobby Troupe's 1946 classic song Get Your Kicks on Route 66, later covered by legends like Nat King Cole, Chuck Berry, and the Rolling Stones. The song turned the road into a rhythm, a melody that echoed the joy of travel and discovery. Hollywood followed soon after, using Route 66 as a backdrop for countless films and TV shows that celebrated road trips, rebellion, and self-discovery. The 1960s television series Route 66 turned the highway into a cultural stage, a place where every town had a story and every mile held a lesson. The road's cultural power extended beyond entertainment. Route 66 represented mobility and equality, offering ordinary people the chance to chase opportunity. For soldiers returning from war, it was the road home. For dreamers heading west, it was the road to possibility. For many, it was the ultimate symbol of freedom, where the journey itself became the destination. Even today, Route 66 continues to inspire nostalgia and wanderlust. Its imagery decorates murals, clothing, and cafes around the world, proving that its legacy isn't confined to the past. Route 66 lives on in our collective imagination, a timeless reminder that adventure begins with the turn of an ignition key and a road stretching endlessly ahead. While much of Route 66 has fallen silent, scattered along its winding path are hidden gems, places that have survived time, change, and neglect. These enduring businesses are more than roadside stops. They're living museums that carry the heartbeat of the Mother Road. Each one tells a story of resilience, nostalgia, and undying love for an era when the journey itself was the destination. In Tucumcari, New Mexico, the Blue Swallow Motel still glows proudly with its neon sign, welcoming travelers just as it did in the 1940s. In Oklahoma, Pop's 66 Soda Ranch has reinvented the roadside stop with its giant soda bottle and hundreds of vintage flavors. Farther west, Delgadillo's Snow-Capped Drive-In in Seligman, Arizona, run by the family of Route 66 legend Angel Delgadillo, still serves burgers and laughter in equal measure. And in the tiny town of Oatman, Arizona, wild burros roam the streets, mingling with visitors in a place that feels frozen in time. These surviving landmarks thrive not on convenience, but on connection. Travelers from around the world come not just for food or lodging, but for the stories, for the feeling of stepping back into mid-century America. Owners greet guests with warmth, share memories of the old days, and remind them what genuine hospitality feels like. Beyond the famous stops, hidden treasures await in nearly every state: antique shops, retro cafes, and lovingly restored service stations that honor the past while adapting to the present. They're proof that Route 66 is far from dead. In fact, its spirit is stronger than ever, carried by the people who keep the lights on, the neon buzzing, and the coffee brewing. These places ensure that the legend of Route 66 continues to live mile after mile. Route 66 has always been more than just a line on a map. It's an idea, a feeling, a symbol of freedom woven deep into the American soul. From its creation in 1926, the highway represented possibility, the power to leave, to explore, to start again. It invited people to chase horizons, to travel not just from one place to another, but from one chapter of life to the next. For many, Route 66 became the road out of hardship and into hope, a promise that something better lay just beyond the bend. In the decades that followed, the open road became a canvas for freedom and self-expression. During the post-war years, families packed their cars and drove west, discovering the joy of mobility. In the 1950s and 60s, Route 66 became a symbol of youth rebellion and independence, immortalized by songs, films, and the growing car culture that defined a generation. It was the ultimate escape from routine, a road that offered liberation from the ordinary. For writers, artists, and wanderers, Route 66 became a metaphor for life itself, unpredictable, winding, and filled with discovery. It represented the freedom to choose your own direction, to make your own mistakes, and to find beauty in the journey rather than the destination. Even today, long after its official decommissioning, travelers from around the world still come to experience this sense of boundless freedom. They drive not because they must, but because they can. Because Route 66 continues to whisper the timeless call of the open road. It stands as a reminder that true freedom isn't found in reaching the end, but in embracing every mile along the way. On Route 66, every turn is a new beginning. Highway system in 1985, its story is far from over. In recent years, a powerful movement has emerged to revive and preserve the mother road for future generations. Historians, local communities, and travelers from around the world are working together to breathe new life into this legendary highway, restoring its landmarks, celebrating its history, and reimagining it as a living cultural corridor rather than a relic of the past. Many states have designated portions of Route 66 as scenic byways or heritage trails, while museums and preservation groups are documenting its stories before they fade away. Annual car rallies, motorcycle tours, and heritage festivals bring thousands of visitors back to the towns once forgotten. New entrepreneurs are reopening retro motels, reinventing diners with a modern twist, and turning abandoned gas stations into art galleries, cafes, and community hubs. The road is slowly awakening again, not as a thoroughfare for speed, but as a path for connection, reflection, and discovery. Technology, too, is helping to keep the mother road alive. Digital archives, virtual tours, and social media storytelling have introduced a new generation to its magic. Travelers now follow Route 66 not just for nostalgia, but to reconnect with a simpler, more human experience. One built on conversation, curiosity, and the open horizon. In the end, Route 66 endures because it represents something timeless, the journey of the human spirit. It reminds us that progress doesn't always mean forgetting the past. The mother road may have changed form, but its soul remains the same, a symbol of resilience, hope, and endless adventure. As long as people dream of the open road, Route 66 will never truly fade away.